Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. This is a very exciting episode for me because it is my first episode since late last year, where a lot of the old listeners will know I took a step back from my role as a health coach with EquiLife and also the podcasting for the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. But I am back, and I am back today to share with you on a solo show a little bit about why I took a step back, but really about what I learned in the several months that I wasn't coaching or I wasn't podcasting and really wasn't working, and what I learned from that experience, because it was somewhat profound from a professional standpoint, but also a personal standpoint. And I would love to share some of that with you today. Maybe some of you are out there thinking, like, I think I need a break. I need to step back. I would love to quit my job, but I can't. And I'm here to share a little bit of the wisdom from what I learned from my break with all of you. What I would love to do to start is thank Dr. Cabral and IHP for having me back, and also Kate Mills for doing such a wonderful job co-hosting. We're going to continue to co-host together, but also for hosting in my absence and doing such a wonderful job. I know so many of you have likely gained invaluable knowledge from her content and her spirit here. So thank you, Kate, IHP, and Dr. Cabral. I'm so excited to be back. Okay, without further ado, I took a bit of a break back in the fall. I stopped coaching, I stopped podcasting, and I was just focusing on being a mom. I have three little kids, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and he is 20 months old now. It seems hard to believe, but I stopped working to kind of concentrate on being there for them, kind of nourishing my marriage in a way that maybe I hadn't before, and really just trying to be more present. I had had some debilitating chronic pain for the better part of 2023 that I never really talked about, but I'm going to share a little bit of that with you guys today. I had really bad TMJ. So for those of you that don't know, it's pain in the jaw. Specifically at the point where it was the worst, I was blending my food to eat it. I couldn't chew anything. I was having horrible nights sleep and just really bad pain. I was in constant pain talking. Part of the reason why I thought stepping back would be a help is because I was talking all day long. And I thought just by that, I was doing a ton of overuse of the muscles in my face. And it was at the darkest point really debilitating. And so I thought, I'm dealing with pain. I'm feeling overwhelmed as a mom. My husband and I talked. There were some, other things going on that we just decided I'm going to take a step back. But what I thought I was going to learn, accomplish, and do wasn't necessarily the case. And I think that there could be some other misconceptions out there about what it does mean to just stop working, right? I think a lot of the other health coaches, when I shared, a lot of them kind of said, gosh, you're so lucky to be able to do that. And yes, I felt incredibly lucky to be able to do that. And I'm just as lucky to be back working here with so many people that I love and admire. But what I kind of want to share is 3 of the top things that I learned from taking a step back, being able to do what I thought I was going to be able to do, and how it didn't quite work out that way, or I didn't necessarily get the things that I thought I was going to get out of it, and how that might be able to help you, but also clients of yours, right? If you're working with clients who are like, I can't prioritize any of this stuff. I have a job, I have kids. It's hard for me to prioritize my health. It's hard for me to process my emotions or see a chiropractor, right? I thought I can't do all of the things that it will take to fix my debilitating chronic pain while working the way that I am and trying to mother the way that I wanted to and nourish my marriage, right? There's always so much on our plate, especially as women, that I thought I need a break to be able to do all of these things. And that turned out to not quite be so true. So, what I'm going to share with you are the top 3 things that I learned and how it could help another coach thinking very similar to maybe how I was, Or again, how you can relate to clients and maybe coach them on allowing themselves to use the schedule life that they have to prioritize their needs. Because the truth is more time does not always lead to better results or to being able to choose to prioritize yourself, right? So that's going to kind of be the first one that I dive into. So the top three things that I learned was one, more time doesn't mean more or guaranteed results. So I found that although I had more time in my day, my kids went off to school and I still was able to kind of prioritize myself. And the fact that I had more time did not automatically mean that I was going to get more results or be guaranteed results. I still had to really find the root cause of some of my chronic pain. And it wasn't that I was working too much. The second thing that I learned, and I'm going to dive into each of these individually, was that I underestimated the connection and the fulfillment that my job actually brought me. I've talked about it here many times before, and how the connection with the IHP community and my clients and other coaches and staff on the EquiLife team meant so much to me. And I knew that they did. I didn't really know how significant it was, though, until I took a step back and that was gone. So I'll talk a little bit about that one. And then the third is that balance is key. Balance with your passion, balance with your career, balance with being a mom, balance with being a wife, balance with running a household, balance with what you choose to feed your children, balance with what you choose to consume, balance with the way you take care of yourself, right? That balance was key. So let's dive into number one, which was that more time didn't guarantee or give me more results. I had a lot of time to do a lot of self discovery. And I also, at the beginning, did a lot of appointments, physical appointments for my TMJ. I, did all of the holistic dentist appointments that I was like, I don't have time to do this when I'm working. I did all my chiropractor appointments. I got some cranial sacral therapy. It was all physical manipulation. And what happened was incredibly interesting. My jaw only continued to get worse. The pain got worse. The tension got worse. I was not seeing any better results. The mouth guard, it wasn't really a mouth guard. It's actually a device that I use to try to take some of the tension off of my jaw at night. It did help in the short term, but then it didn't help very much after the initial month or so. And it was interesting because I thought if I can just have the time to do all of these appointments, I'll be able to get this physical symptom under control. And it was not true. What I learned through the help of a very dear friend and member of our IH community, Kate, Kate Murphy. She's on Instagram as Life with Kate, and I'm sure so many of you are familiar with her, was that my chronic debilitating pain was in fact very emotional. There was a huge emotional component to it. It was unprocessed emotions. It was stress. It was anxiety. And I knew this conceptually to some degree. This was very obvious to me. But I thought that there had to be a physical component to it. There had to be something physical going on that was causing the reoccurrence of this tightness, of this pain. And while, yes, I was going to work on the emotional part, I had to figure out the physical component. But what I found was the more that I focused on the pain and fixing it and gripping so tightly to the fact that I just had to get rid of it, the worse that it got. As I relaxed into the fact that I was in control of my emotions, how I processed them, how I felt them, how I allowed myself to really cope with what I was going through, was going to be the game changer. And the one thing that changed for me that I was not doing was self-compassion. I was always approaching my healing from a place of like, I'm going to fix it. I'm just going to see the chiropractor and he'll do another adjustment and hopefully it will get better. And I need to get to the bottom of this because I can't live like this. I can't keep blending my food. I can't wake up in pain. It's keeping me short on patience with my kids. I can't live in pain because it's affecting so many other physical things, my digestion, right? Because I couldn't chew my food, I was having lots of bloating and gas. I wasn't eating the right types of food because I couldn't even chew lettuce, right? So I was eating lots of soft food that weren't really agreeing with my system, things like yogurt and whatnot. So allowing myself to approach things with self-compassion was a game changer. It allowed me to actually feel safe enough to feel all the emotion that I needed to process because, again, it was in that I got the most relief. Whether it was unprocessed emotion, whether it was anger, whether it was resentment, whether it was just tension and wanting to control situations and outcomes, right, with my kids, it was all emotional. And I actually at one point stopped going to the chiropractor. I spent lots of money on the chiropractor. I stopped going to the chiropractor. I stopped making appointments. There's such a neuroplastic connection with the brain to chronic pain specifically, right? Every time I sent my brain the signal that this is in fact dangerous and I have to find a way to make it stop, I reinforce the pain over and over and over again was what I found. And so the more time I had, I was not guaranteed more results. I was able to make more appointments than I ever had before, and that didn't seem to budge things. What I did allow myself to use a lot of the time for kind of in the last several months and not so at the beginning was to really just let my nervous system relax and allow for a place of stillness instead of constant achievement and fixing, right? Because I just went from like one spinning wheel to another. I just moved from this wheel to this wheel, and my body never really felt that it was in any kind of a different place, from a rest, relaxation, nervous system support to the place where it could heal. Okay, so that was number one. More time did not yield me more results, and it definitely didn't guarantee that anything was going to get better. I had to make it happen. I had to be willing to sit with the uncomfortable emotions that I was processing and also find a way to give myself the compassion, um, that I think is sometimes hard, especially for women, to give themselves, because we can be in a place where we're always giving to others, right? People would describe me as like one of the most compassionate, caring people. And I'm really good about doing that for other people, right? But not always good about doing it for myself. And that was a game changer. If you find yourself in a place where you are wanting to achieve something, fix something, change something, or you have clients in the position where they're wanting to do that, coming at it from a place of self-compassion and love is going to get you far better results, far faster than coming at it with frustration, shame, fear, anger. It's just how it goes. So that is my number one thing that I learned. The second was that I underestimated the connection and the fulfillment that my job gave me. Plain and simple. I think a lot of us can kind of get hardwired to think that work is work. And while my work has never been dreaded work to me, I started to kind of get in the mindset that it was more than it was more quote unquote hard work than it really was. And I underestimated the connections that I had with my EquiLife team, the coaches on the EquiLife team, and the management staff. I did underestimate certainly the connections that I had with clients. And I even underestimated how much I loved teaching and how much I loved doing these podcasts and having, folks reach out and say, oh, that was so helpful with such and such, right? Not because it was an ego thing, but because it felt like I was evoking change, whether it was inspiring a coach to then inspire a client, or just inspiring someone to become a coach and empower themselves, right? It wasn't about what I was getting, but what I felt like I was giving. And that was a huge thing that I missed. And while I knew that was all important to me, I truly did. From the minute I've started coaching, I knew that this was what I was meant to do. I did not underestimate it at all, but I underestimated it more than I thought when I realized that when it was no longer a part of my life, for sure. And I think that we can kind of get in the rut of day to day, what feels like it might be not monotonous, but just another day of the ordinary, and going to work, dropping the kids off, connecting with clients, doing my follow-ups, picking the kids up and kind of doing it all over again. But what I found was, if I couldn't find any kind of joy in the ordinary, there was no extraordinary that was going to come along and bring me peace and calm in my life. I had to find a way to make peace with the ordinary moments of everyday life, and to make peace with the work that I found joy in, and find a way that I could do it while feeling like I wasn't overextending myself or showing up to school pickup as the stressed out mom, right? Maybe I was simply just over, committing to hours or whatever it was, and that I didn't need to just completely throw away the tub with the bathwater. Is that the saying? But that I needed to just look at things and take a bit of more of a balanced approach, right? That's actually going to be number three. Um, but the underestimation, I think I thought, because I worked from home, right? I wasn't going to change my environment. It's not like I was leaving an office job and I had to hug all of my coworkers goodbye, and I wasn't going to be leaving and going to work and seeing all of the people like in the office that I saw, or right. I didn't have physical connections, but I underestimated the spiritual, emotional connections that I had, specifically with the EquiLife team. The coaches on the EquiLife team are all very near and dear to my heart. I kept in touch with so many of them in my absence, and I'm so grateful to all of them that we were able to keep in touch, right? But I did kind of underestimate how that connection was playing a role in my life, how it was kind of feeding some of my love for really deep connection, because I am an introvert. I am an empath. So I am not a kind of like tons of girlfriends. I don't have like, 18 girlfriends from college and we do these reunions all the time. I have two best friends from high school. I have two best friends from college. I have, a few what I call life best friends. I don't have a gaggle of girls that I just hang out with all the time. So my connections are important to me, and they mean a lot when I make them. And I kind of underestimated the role that that played in my life as, a woman, right? We talk about how, it takes a village to raise kids. And I think it takes a village to be a mom. I don't know if it takes a village to raise children, but I think it takes a village to be a mom in this world. And we don't have a physical village like back in the day, but a lot of these women were my village. We, talked about a lot of things that were, just soul nourishing for me. I hope it was for them. And I missed that. I missed connecting with my clients and seeing their progress and holding space for their transformation and seeing all the amazing things that they did. Again, not because it reflected back on my ego to, wow, you're doing a great job coaching, but because I saw a change in someone else, and that was inspiring to me. Just the fact that I could see men and women who took what they had for circumstances, chose to better their health, how it maybe then played out for their children, or they then went, on to get certifications of their own, and it changed the trajectory of their own life. I mean, all of these stories were so inspiring and created so much connection and just happiness. Like, it sounds like such a silly, stupid word in my life. And sometimes you don't realize what you have until it's gone, right? And that was something that not until it was gone for several weeks that I started to kind of feel that void. So that's number two. Number three is balance is key. I realized that, so I went from working and, being a mom and, doing all of the things, to not working and still being a mom and doing all of the things. And I kind of went from one extreme to the other. And what I found was that a balance, which is what I'm in the middle of kind of creating now, is really key. How can I feel fulfilled in my passion, in my career, in my work? How can I feel independent in that, while also still feeling like I'm showing up for my family the way that I want to, showing up patient, not showing up burnt out, being kind of being in my feminine for my husband, right? And not being so in my masculine of like productivity and just get it done, right? That was a huge part of, again, why I kind of stepped back, because I could feel how imbalanced my masculine and feminine energy were. And I thought if I could relax into my feminine more, that would create more balance with the relationships in my life. And guess what? It didn't. I still had to figure out what is the piece inside that has me so tightly hardwired to gravitate to the masculine energy versus the feminine. And it didn't have anything to do with the fact that I was a workhorse. It had everything to do, and when I say workhorse, I mean not that that was how I was, but it had nothing. If you're feeling that way, it, in my opinion, didn't have anything to do with the tasks, but rather the really how I defined those tasks and how I chose to approach them. And that all had to do with the things that I was emotionally processing, right? Why was control? Why did it have to be perfect? Why did I have to take the things that were on my plate and perfect them or control them or find ways that it had to be just so? What if I relaxed into the possibility of it not being so perfect and letting motherhood just be messy? Because frankly, it is messy, whether you are working full time, part time, or not working at all. It's messy. I actually didn't, just from not working, I didn't automatically show up with more patience every day, because that was an inside job for me. And yes, the external factors gave me some time to find the space to explore some of these things. And I would say that that was the biggest thing that I took from it. I had quiet, I had space and peace to allow myself to process this, but it wasn't, I didn't know that that was going to be the thing when I stopped working. What I thought was going to be the thing was that I had less responsibility, I had less stress. And just because those things went away didn't mean that I felt any different. I actually had to feel all of the ways, because I just moved on to something else. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, now I need to get this house organized. And I was kind of like, I was worried, not that my husband ever, gave me this impression, but I still felt like I had to be productive. He would be like coming home from work and I'd be like, oh my God, the house is a mess. And like, I didn't even really do anything all day. I picked the kids up from school, but he's going to be like, what the heck did you do all day? And so I started to feel, self-confident about, self-conscious about that. And I had to really explore what are my thoughts about productivity and what that means for my self-worth and what it feels like to rest. Those are all things that frankly I could have explored while still, working, but those were the things that just having less responsibility and less stress were not automatically going to come to me. That was work I had to do on my own. I had to find out, where are these patterns coming from? Why are they here? How can I compassionately try to shift some of these so that there's more room for joy, compassion, and lightness in my life, and me not feeling like I need to grip so tightly to the outcome of everything, the outcome of my work, the outcome of my, children's well-being, the outcome of my marriage, the outcome of my home, and all of it, right? Staying on top of school. And for some of you who are old listeners, you might know that I homeschooled my children up until this past year. And you know, sending them to school was a big part of like releasing some of that control. And I thought, even doing that, right, I'm going to have more time to devote to work. And it's never the outside thing. Yes, again, the space allowed me to feel some of this and to offered me the time to tap into some of what was off, but it was always inside. It was never something outside that was the culprit. It has always been inside. And you all have the ability to find those things that, right, may be holding you back, or that may be holding clients back, right? If you're a coach. And, sometimes I would listen to clients and I would be like, oh my gosh, this poor woman just needs to quit her job. Like she's burning the candle at both ends. And while, yes, that may be true that the candle is being burnt at both ends, but is there a different way to approach what we think of as work? Or is there a different way to show up so that it's not such a burden, right? That life isn't, that all of the things that we have to do aren't such a burden. That comes with perspective, that comes with gratitude. And I am by no means all the way there. I think I've done some significant work, but I am by no means there. So if you're not there, don't sit there and think, wow, she got it figured out from November to May. It's pretty impressive, because that is not true. I still have to work on all of this stuff, quite frankly, daily, right? It's constant. I would say, like, greasing the wheel, right, to keep it moving the same way that we know we need to. But I think that again, the third point was balance is key. And if we can find a way to just gently find flow and balance in our life with maybe the things that we love, right? You love coaching, but it's hard to balance it with kids. Okay, so where are the ways that you can show up in a coaching, way that doesn't feel like it's taking away from what you want to do and be as a mom? And I also found too that my kids, kind of almost like felt a little bit of the fact that, like, now I was like full on mom. It was like almost a little more overwhelming, right? And it was good for me to have my space that was working mom, and then I was, full mom, and it again. I'm finding that there has to be a balance. I'm lucky enough to not have to work 5 days a week. I'm not working 5 days a week right now. I'm not working 9 to 5. That's huge, right? That's a big part of the balance. There might be people that can't strike that balance for financial reasons. I'm lucky enough to work for a company that allows me to kind of create that balance. And the other thing that I also found was I loved teaching. I loved mentoring, and I'm doing more of that now within the Centurion program, working with amazingly talented coaches, compassionate people, just like salt of the earth coaches through IHP, who are kind of spreading their wings and starting to read more labs. And I'm able to work with them, coach them in a way that truly fills my soul. And so, again, I was able to kind of get real with myself about the things that would create more balance internally, because I've said this saying before, and I truly believe that if you love your work, or if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, or however that saying goes, right? And so if you find the balance of things that you love, you truly won't feel like you're stressed with work, because it will feel like it's the proper balance, and it will feed you instead of depleting you, is really what I found. And I'm so grateful to have kind of had the time and the space to come to these realizations. And I was talking with Dr. Cabral, and who should my first interview back be? And I said to him, I would love to just come on and do a solo show. One, to kind of just reconnect with listeners and let them know where I've been. It was important for me to kind of be transparent in that way, and truly what I learned, because I think I had a lot of misconceptions about what it would mean to be able to just quit my job. And it actually kind of seemed glamorous. If I'm being honest, I went and did infrared saunas, and I finally had time to sit with my red light. But guess what? I'm working, and I'm still finding the time to do those things, because I'm making them a priority. And it is all about perspective and what we choose to prioritize. And if you have all that figured out, it's amazing, but some of your clients might not, right? And being able to give them some of that support, I think, can be so beneficial. All right. So that is my top three things that I learned kind of stepping away from really the work arena, but also coaching, right? I think it can apply to any line of work. It doesn't have to just be coaching, but those are the things that I learned. And I hope they were helpful for you. I do have amazing guests lined up for my interviews. Many of them are well known names in the health and wellness industry, but they've become very close friends of mine. And I just think the world of so many of them, specifically the first several that I will be having back on the show. So I cannot wait for those interviews. I can't wait for you to hear them. And I'm so excited to be back. More crying to come. I mean, I told myself I wasn't going to cry on the episode, but look, I did. uh, and so I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited for everybody who's still listening and any new listeners that have kind of come along since I was last on the show. Welcome. And I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you as well. Um, Thanks so much. And I will be back and can't wait to give you more content. Thanks, everyone.